I hear an aeroplane. Somewhere it should appear over the hill there. Oh, it's a helicopter. I go into the Havasu Airport. Hello and welcome back, everybody. In our last episode, we kind of left the Coachmen in pieces. The engine compartment, that is, taking all that stuff off the engine and all that smog stuff, antiquated smog stuff. And I've worked ahead. We've jumped ahead several days. I've worked ahead. It's back together and running quite well. I'll open that up here in a little bit and I'll show you the finished product there, but it looks so much better and it runs so much better, noticeably better. So yeah, we'll head down there in a minute. It is sitting somewhere right in the wrap out there, and this is our camp area. And the vehicle starts from down in here is the beginning. There's this whole section here, pretty open. Most of these people, except for a few up there at the end, but we got some nice neighbors. Most of these people we all know, they're friends, and even some more scattered down in here. Most of us all know each other. So, and Bella, there's our main group of friends down there hanging out. And Bella just took off. She was up here with me, and she just took off down there. Bella! Bella! What are you doing, Bella? Come on, girl. You went the whole way down there. It's okay. I know those people. It's safe. But you need to. But you should ask. You should ask permission. Say, can I go? Can I go play? We did lose a few days here. We did get down here where it was, I could kind of work at it at my own pace. There was no big rush. Still a little bit of a rush. You know, our time is limited here, so while I did have plenty of days and some extras to do it and kind of work through it at my pace and do the things I wanted to do. Some of them I didn't get to do because of other reasons, but there's still a time limit here, so I really didn't. Some people have suggested, oh, it'd be a good time to do this and a good time to do that. Well, it can't be this ongoing project. It'd be different if I was back up at the garage in Pennsylvania and I had the whole summer ahead of me. I could do a complete rebuild, right? So there was a cutoff point where I do want to do necessary things while I'm right there, but there's a time where I got to say, you know, it does need to be usable. I can't be stranded and totally reliant on friends, you know, too long without starting to feel, well, this is kind of getting old, Dave, you know, when you get that thing running, that sort of thing. So we're gonna be good for now, but we're gonna, I guess I'll go ahead and get down there and we'll take a look. Here's what's funny. Everybody's sitting over there in the shade with their jackets on. But in the sun, it's quite warm, short sleeves. Why not move the chairs over in the sun? Sun's good for you, right? Vitamin D, right? And other benefits. Why not move out in the sun and take your jackets off? I don't get that. I don't get it. Moo, where'd you come from? We're dog sitting for a minute. Bella, you okay with that? You okay with that? I need my light. Okay? Alright, here we have it. I come across something that I have never, ever, ever seen before in any vehicle. And I've been in a lot of engine compartments. I have seen a lot from various years. This had something that I've never seen before. Well, and it was in here. Let's just take a quick look at this. Remember all the hoses and all that stuff? I mean, here you can, it actually looks like an engine again. You can see plainly see the valve cover, which was all hidden by hoses and all kind of stuff. Couldn't even see that. And same on this side. There's a little bit going on, and the air cleaner blocking it, but it is pretty plain, and all those hoses are gone. The rest of these are spark plug wires, which is another little issue. I'm not going to get into all that. The original ones were long enough. They all reached routed a certain way neatly. These aftermarket ones are kind of universal, and it's a little different. I couldn't route them like exactly how they should be. There's a better way to do that. But part of this is because these other anti-pollution gizmos are kind of in the way where they might otherwise naturally run. So I either got to get different wires. Some of these are new, just to this side, because there was a earlier issue I had to adjust right away. I might just delay putting on a good set. I replaced the ones that kind of got melted and messed up. I might wait and put, and the other ones are okay. I might wait and put a good set on it once I get rid of those things, and that's going to be another project for another time. So these could be neatened up if they were all the right proper lengths. So that's kind of not as neat as it could be, but I'll deal with that little mess later. It works. It's not too bad. And underneath here, wait. We'll get to this here in a minute. I also removed the air conditioning compressor because you know, from the last video we removed that air pump that was right here in the center, and of course that's the alternator. There's an air pump below it. That's gone. That's gone. That big old nasty bracket. And I decided to go ahead and remove the air conditioner compressor too, because this rig is 35 years old. I am not going to spend the money to fix that air conditioning system. It's just never going to happen. The Tioga didn't have that air conditioner didn't work on the Tioga. It didn't work on the Bounder, and it's not going to work in here. So I decided I'm just going to go ahead and remove it too. Any future jobs will be so much easier to work on. Oh yeah, and there's a power steering pump down there too. So everything down here is easy to get to. Any future jobs, whether it's power steering related, water pump related, fan related, alternator related, all easy stuff to get to now. And this does have this one bracket on there, but that is designed because this has an extended dipstick and oil filling tube that goes into the valve cover. Oil filling tube that all goes up to the front. So this bracket here is just something to mount that, to mount those two tubes to give it some rigidity as they go up to the front. So that was a necessary bracket. Now, as you can see, if you've followed along recently, you can see it still has that spacer in there instead of the fan clutch. And the reason is I put it back together with that. I did buy it. I do have the fan clutch, but I couldn't use it at this time just yet. And the reason is because of this type of fan. I have to find the original equipment style fan. It has a bigger hole in the front, and I'll show you why. In here, amongst all my tools and junk, there it is. There's a brand new fan clutch. All right. And the reason I can't use it at this time is this is the part that goes on the front of the water pump. This locates on a little pilot for alignment, and then the 4 bolts. And the 4 bolts go in these slots. So that bolts on the front of the water pump. Well, the original equipment type fan bolted on these, so there has to be there's a big enough hole in the center of that fan that it slides over this first, down onto here and bolts on, and then you put the fan clutch and fan as one unit in, and then put the bolts in the water pump. So that's the way that unit is supposed to work and be installed. And but that aftermarket fan they put in, it just came with a spacer, which it takes this thing's place. It has the spacer that has the same hole on it for locating and bolting, but the bolts go through it. And what happens is the front of that spacer has the male version that sticks out, and then that fan has the little hole to go on that. So that new style fan has the tiny hole that will not go over this. So I can't install this until I locate an original equipment type fan, and that will all get replaced together. So and one of the things I was saying about, somebody said, oh, it'd be a good time to go and replace the timing chain on it. Like I said, there's a cutoff point. This engine only has 61, what is it? 61,000 some miles on it. I think that timing chain is going to be fine for quite some time to come. But in the event I'm in here again for some reason, I mean, it might get replaced. I think it could be just fine for a lot of miles yet, though. That would have been a good time to do it while that water pump was off of there. But no, we're not. A more pressing issue is going to be replacing the exhaust manifolds on this. This one here actually leaks in the back here, and I think it's a stainless. It's not a cast iron manifold, it is stainless. I think I mentioned that in the last video. And I think the one weld is cracked back in here, and I'm not going to bother trying to get it re-welded or anything. That's just going to come off. I am going to buy new cast iron ones. They're not too bad. They're about $100 a piece, and I'm just going to put 2 new ones on it here at some point. That's going to be kind of the next major project that goes on, and I think that's a more pressing issue than that timing chain. Oh, this thing. All right. Here, something I've never seen in here. And if you remember too, there was like 5 hoses, different hoses hooked up to this air cleaner, and that electric plug, that little sensor thing, that's gone. There's just this one hose here now that goes down to the valve cover. There's just one hose on here now, and so that gets ventilated. What is it? Actually, the PVC valve. PC. I keep calling it PVC. It's PCV valve, positive crankcase ventilation valve. It's a check valve. It's a one-directional valve. The engine vacuum draws vapors and air from the crankcase vapors and stuff in it, and that's the inlet way. It could actually take air from the air cleaning housing and can go in this side and through the engine and get sucked out of that side and run down through the engine and burned off. But here's what I found out. What I discovered was, and it was another restriction, air restriction. This had an inner. It was just real similar to this air filter. Oh look, it's some kind of piece of. I don't know. That's what it's for, is to catch stuff from going down here. Real similar to the air filter, there was another canister, kind of a filter that was about 3/4 of an inch thick that went around the inside of this, and it was like a mesh screen, not mesh, it was like sheet metal with a bunch of little holes in it. So there was the outside layer, and then the inside layer, and in between that was charcoal. And of course it was sealed top and bottom, so it had to breathe. Not only it has to draw air through the air filter, but then through that secondary canister. And every time there's a layer, there's a little bit of restriction created. And I don't know how much restriction that thing would have created, but you know what? Like every other vehicle on the planet, I darn near is fine with just a filter. That was unnecessary. That was an unnecessary restriction. That thing was gone, along with all the other stuff. And 2, those air pumps needed power to power them, so it kind of those robbed power plus restrictions. This thing was like really lazy. This engine, it just acted really lazy. It was not very responsive. When you nail that gas pedal, this should rev pretty quickly. Just saying it's in park or neutral. When you just go to rev it up, when you hit that gas pedal, it should, whoom, it should come up pretty quickly. And it just always seemed real sluggish. I could punch it and it just seemed like it just kind of took, I'll tell you what, and this thing's going down the road now, when I pull out from the traffic light or an intersection, or just go to accelerate at any time, it is so much more responsive. It runs so much better. I'm really happy about that. That's very satisfying when you go through a bunch of work and you really notice results. And I just can't tell you how happy I am. It just runs really, really good now. So did I stress that enough? Can you tell I'm pleased? All right. What else is going on with this? Anything else? I forgot to put. No, we talked about the exhaust manifolds. That's a later job. Why I couldn't use the fan clutch just yet, and maybe that's it. I forgot there was this other thing. And I saved the souvenir. Is this red zip tie. More of that handy dandy work. I'm gonna say a previous owner. I can't blame a mechanic. I guess, well, there's bad mechanics out there too. What kind of mechanic would put a red zip tie on the carburetor to keep one of the functions from working? That goes back to my theory. You know, there were some old school thoughts on how to make these big old gas guzzling engines not use as much gas. And what they did was they zip tied the secondaries on its carburetor so they wouldn't function. They did two things. All in one move, they wired the choke. I shouldn't say wired. They zip tied the choke open, wide open. So that's what caused it to be difficult cold starts. You know, cold starting on a cool morning, because the choke was wide open. It wasn't allowed to come shut when it needed to in colder weather. So in one swift move, they zip tied the choke wide open, and they zip tied the secondaries closed. And what that is this is the choke. Okay, this should be able to, when it's cold, it automatically, let me activate this here. It automatically goes in a closed position to where it starves the carburetor for, it changes the air fuel mixture to less air and more gas when it's cold. And as it warms up, you know, this comes open. And then it stays open during normal operating. And the secondaries these are the primaries. It's how much air fuel mixture, you know, can go through this engine. And, you know, under heavier loads, these secondaries, which you can tell are much bigger. Okay, there's that. These open up, and the throttle plate's down below, and that allows a whole lot more fuel and air to go breathe through the engine. It allows the engine to breathe more air and fuel to burn for more power. So these were completely disabled. That's another reason why it seemed kind of sluggish. And I mean, it got us up the hills on the way out here, but it's like all it could do. And this being a smaller motorhome than the Bounder, I'm thinking, heck, the Bounder could have done better than what this was doing. But, you know, it got us here, and it ran smooth, just not real powerful. So now if we're climbing mountains and or towing something, if we decide to tow something at some point, now we should have the available power. You wouldn't believe how much more responsive this has become with all things. Now, this part I discovered a while back, a couple of weeks ago, and so I got these working, and there was some noticeable difference. Nothing real great. I could hear them, and you could feel it had more power, but not a lot. Not as much as if I combined that move with taking all this other performance robbing gizmos and gadgets off of this thing. It's really come to life now at this point. Alright, so with it running, I don't think the microphone on this camera is going to like this too much, but as you can see, now with it running, it's already warmed up. This is wide open like it's supposed to be, and these, they're vacuum operated. Let me see what happens here when I give the throttle. Well, that's a bit of a scream, huh? You see how responsive that is. It just wants to go.